everyone. Come on in because we are here to review Ready to Love season. What we on season 11, episode 8. Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. We get ready for the new year. I didn't even know if Ready to Love was going to have an episode that came on this Friday, but they did. They did, and I was there watching it. And this episode was the Meet Your Best Friends episode. Friends with an S or friends with a Z on the end. Some of the friends was with the friends with an S, but some of them had a Z on the end, like Dominique's friends. Girl, they was doing too much. I mean, yeah, did they expose some things? They did, but girl, Dominique, you better be careful. You better be careful. Especially that friend that said that she your soulmate. Girl, don't let no friend say that in front of no man that the girl is your soulmate. What man want to be with a woman when another woman's running around talking about you her soulmate? He trying to be your soulmate. My goodness, Dominique, go have a talk with your girlfriend because she could be messing up some of your play out here in the street. I ain't gonna lie. But anyway, the first date, not date or meet your friends date, whatever we want to call it, we got to see was with Ashante, and she had two girlfriends called Alondria and Kia. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Y'all know I'm notorious for messing up people's names. You just gonna have to forgive me. But whatever, her two friends got to meet Steve, they got to meet Cardi, and they got to meet Bella. I mean, at this point in time, it seems like almost everybody is inviting 3 people on these Meet the Friends dates. And honestly, at this time, people should have narrowed it down to 2 people because as we can see in this episode, inviting 3 men on the date is really messing up some things. It really is. We're going to see that later on with Shannon as well. But at this point in the process, we are what? We're on episode 8. We got to be at least halfway through. And you mean to tell me halfway through you haven't been able to narrow it down to 2 men? I'm gonna say this. That says a lot about you, and it was a turnoff for a lot of people. This episode was all about why aren't I in your number 1 or number 2? But yet all these women had 3 men sitting there. All these women were mad that these men didn't put them in their top 1 or 2, but yet the women had 3 men sitting there. That ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. You know, we're in a dating era where you also have to give and get. You see, long gone are the days where you get to sit back and ask for a whole bunch of things and not give the same thing. So, you know, I know people ain't in 50-50. I know all this is going on out there, but men want to be pursued just like women want to be pursued. Men want to be in your top 2 just like you want to be in men's top 2. And out here in the dating world, same thing with men. Hey, women want to be on your top 2, all these types of things. And people are really sending the wrong message when it comes to meet the friends and family. And you got 3 people sitting there and we halfway through the season. No. But anyway, we got to see this first date, Steve, Cardi, and Bello. And Ashante's friend said, what are your intentions? Alondra said, what are your intentions with my friend? But, you know, Steve stepped up. Of all the 3, Steve stepped up and said, hey, you know, my vision for your friend or anyone that I date is for this to mature into getting married and having kids. I thought he had good answers. In fact, I thought Steve had good answers on all the dates. So I'm surprised at the way that some of these ladies classify Steve. But then they had to get to Cardi and start asking him some questions. Cardi B. Because we can see from that ex, Cardi's a lot like Devin. We're going to get to him too. They like women that are outside of who they actually are. They want the women to make them into the people they want to be, but they're really not that people. So one of the things that Shantae wanted her friends to dig in on with Cardi was that about what happened last week with that friend Cardi B. And that Cardi B was going off And so when they were talking about how do you deal with conflict, it really was a passive aggressive way of saying the last time we had conflict, Cardi, and it was me, you, and Cardi B, I didn't really like the way you handled that conflict. Well, shoot, I didn't like the way you handled it, Ashante. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what Ashante is asking from Cardi B, or Cardi, sorry. And let's talk about what she's given. Okay. So, what she was really upset about was, in her opinion, she didn't feel as if Cardi took up for her in the fight with Cardi B. And I'm going to agree with her. Okay. Cardi did not jump in the middle between two women fighting. Okay. But hey, let's talk about the beginning of the fight. You see, everybody always want to talk about what you did after I started fighting somebody. You didn't have my back. Well, let's talk about, one, how you got in the fight and why you got in the fight in the first place, because that right there is a turnoff. So now what you're asking is, you're asking a man to jump in between a fight between two women. Two women. Okay, let's say we out in the street and you don't know how to control yourself, Ashante. You don't know how to control your mouth. You don't know how to stay out of fights. Next thing you know, you fighting with a girl on the street. What do you want your man to do? Punch the girl in the mouth? No, the best he can do in that moment is maybe try to get in between the two of you. And what's he going to do? He's going to grab you. If you're out in a fight and you fighting another woman, more than likely what a man will do, he'll jump in front of the two of you ladies. He'll grab you. He'll pick you up and try to remove you from the fight. He ain't going to hit no woman. He sure shouldn't. And he's not going to pick up that woman and show any aggression towards that woman. But you know what happens with most women when that happens? When a man steps in between her and another woman and he grabs her to move her out the way, she ends up being mad at the man. Because what she thinks is, oh, you was protecting her. You wasn't protecting me. It really is a no-win situation a lot of times. So in this particular case, Ashante had come in to that party talking about, Cardi's my boy. First of all, why would Cardi have any protective nature for you when you basically told Cardi that you his boy? So that means you on the same footing as his friend he got sitting here. So you want protection like a girlfriend. You hear what I'm saying? Ashante wanted protection from Cardi like a boyfriend, but yet she came talking to that girl as if Cardi was just her boy, her home dog, her homie. You see? So when I start talking about, do you give the type of energy you want in return? I'm going to say, Ashante, you didn't. You didn't give no girlfriend energy so that Cardi would feel the need to protect you like a girlfriend. You gave homie vibes. And then you went head to head. You got into a verbal altercation with another homie friend of his. So you know what he did? He let y'all fight. He let y'all fight. So when you sitting here talking about what Cardi didn't do, he didn't protect you, before you start looking at what Cardi didn't do, you need to look at what you did do. You see what I'm saying? You need to look at how you set up that dynamic and you actually put yourself in a trick bag. You see? Now, if you had played damsel in distress, if you had come in talking about how you really like Cardi, you was really attracted to him, when that pit bull Cardi B started jumping on you, maybe he would have felt a need to protect you. I keep telling women, men don't feel the need to protect a woman who's so strong and who's out here fighting in the streets, because that's what Ashante was doing. She was out here fighting in the streets with that Cardi B woman. No. If you want a man to protect you, you need to get behind the man. You see what I'm saying? You need to get behind the man. I told this story before when my husband told me one time, why are you walking in front of me? I said, because you're walking slow. He said, well, I can't protect you when you walking in front of me. You need to either walk beside me or walk behind me. You know, we was out somewhere, I don't know, Disneyland or something, whatever it was. But I got the message, and the message was true. That if you want someone to protect you, you got to learn to get behind them. That's how they give you protection. And what Ashante did was Ashante jumped out in front, started fighting this girl, Cardi B. And then when Cardi B was beating her up, because the woman, Cardi B was beating Ashanti up with her words, all of a sudden she said, Cardi didn't come in and protect me. Well, you was giving off homie vibes. You was calling people your homie. You said you got it. You got it. Well, there you go. If you want to be protected, get behind your man. Bring a little bit more damsel in distress energy to the table. And then not only will your man protect you, I'm telling you, stranger men will protect you. Stranger men will protect a woman who's given more damsel in distress than stranger men will protect a woman who's out there fighting the street. Just a little something. Ashanti, stop running towards the bullets. Stop running towards the bullets. Use your man as a shield, get behind him, which means you got to get behind him and you got to be quiet. You can't be behind him going like this. Girl, get your program together. Get your program together. So to me, that was a big flop. That whole thing trying to cage Cardi and put him in a trick bag, it was a big, complete flop for me. And then they start asking about Bello and how about any of his past, would it conflict with Ashanti? And he said, well, I am a Muslim. And come to find out that her friend Kia, she a Muslim too. And she peeped exactly what I peeped. And what she said was, well, first of all, has Islam changed? I mean, I know what let me put this in perspective. I guess it's no different from Christianity, but I do know that Islam seems to more practice modesty than any other religion. I've been in Dubai, I've been in the Middle East, and they practice modesty. So I was a little bit shocked that this woman was also a Muslim with her belly out and tattoos showing. I was like, I don't know. I don't get this. But then it ain't no different than Bello running around, what he doing. So, hey, maybe I'm being a little hypocritical. I might be. I might need to think about this a little bit more. But it's giving me a little bit of offness to it all. You know, and it's off to me. But anyway, you know, he told her, and they started, you know, exchanging some Arabic language. Maybe that's what they were speaking, you know, back and forth. They knew a couple of words and was able to speak in a different language to each other. You know, hey, sounds good. But it takes one to know one. And in the end, that friend told Ashanti, don't believe him. I know Muslim men. And although he's telling you it's not a big deal, he's going to want you to convert. Thank you. Thank you. So basically what she's saying is Bello is saying whatever he needs to say in order to lure you in. But in the end, I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to want you to convert. Just like I said before, he's going to want a child. He's going to want a child, Dominique. Bello is going to want a child. And remember, Bello barely wanted to tell anybody about the circumstances surrounding his child over there in Miami. So I agree with the friend. Be careful. Be very careful that someone tells you where having children is a big cornerstone of the religion, that adopting is okay. No. They did a little game whereby, hey, paint a picture while we sitting here. Cardi painted aliens because he said, I want to beam you up, Scotty. Cardi's a nerd. I'm gonna tell you right now, Cardi is a nerd. He was a nerd when he was very young. And although now maybe he's coming out his shell or women are seeing him in a different light, he's a nerd. All these corny lines and these textbook answers that he gives, this is stuff he's picked up from reading books, watching movies, YouTube videos, so that he could feel a little bit more cooler. But deep down, Cardi is a nerd. And Bello drew a silhouette of Ashanti, of course, because he's physical. That's what he drew. He's physical, and he drew a physical picture of her silhouette. Okay. And Steve drew a picture of a Halloween costume ghost chasing. He said it was an inside joke. So I don't know. He said he'll let Ashante tell us the he said he'll let Ashante tell us the story, but she didn't tell us the story. But what I was disappointed in was at the very end when she was asking, okay, what order do you rank the guys in, 1, 2, and 3? That they peeped that Cardi was a little bit too textbook. And what that is, when they say textbook, what I picked up on Cardi was a too scripted, because it's not natural. And what he was doing was he was repeating phrases, maybe men he's watched, movies, things like that. Is not really genuine in him. So Cardi's gonna need to find his own style, because right now I feel like Cardi copies a style. That's kind of how I feel. And like I said, they peeped out Bello, said he gonna want her to convert. But the part I was really disappointed in was their viewpoint on Steve. And what they said about Steve was that Steve needed to work on his confidence. And I've heard this from a lot of women on the show. And later on, we're going to hear that that they're going to call him passive. And I really want women to really give a little bit of thought to why they're labeling Steve passive, right? And I want them to really think about what they call passive and juxtapose it against what their definition is of masculine or manly. Because I think a lot of women are walking around with a lot of definitions of toxic masculinity. Because I don't really see Steve being anywhere where he doesn't speak up for himself. He speaks his mind. He doesn't seem afraid, but he definitely doesn't lead with all that bravado. And what women need to really think about is why they're attracted to that. And what I've often talked about is that a lot of women need men to have a whole lot of extra bravado and masculinity because they themselves carry too much. You see, when you are a particular woman and you enter the world a certain type of way and you still want to feel feminine, then what you need is a man to come out who's a lot more masculine than you so you feel feminine. Women never think about, how do I soften myself so that I could pair with a guy like Steve? Because if you're calling Steve soft, I'm thinking, what? You mean to tell me you're more masculine than Steve? What the bigger problem isn't how soft Steve is. The bigger problem is, why are you more masculine than Steve? And when we look at Ashante and how she likes to fight for her life in the street, because I told you before, Ashante is a fearful person in dating. And so what she may want or be attracted to or need is, I need a more masculine man who's going to make me not feel so afraid. And I wonder if Steve will not give me that security I need. Well, the problem really isn't Steve. The problem is the amount of fear that Ashante brings into the dating world. That's what needs to be fixed. You see, because once you fix that, then you probably could pair with a Steve. You see what I'm saying? Steve got access to a lot of women. A lot of women. He went on a lot of dates. Remember, Steve is a middle school teacher. And that means he comes in contact with a lot of women, a lot of single women with kids. Okay. What's the single rate amongst Black women? 70, 80%. That means 70 to 80% of Stephen's children are probably single women with no husband, which he probably could date one of them. And he probably got, how many kids you think Stephen got? 120 kids in middle school? How many different periods he got? 4 periods, 5 periods, 30 kids in each, 150 kids, 70% of that. You see what I'm saying? 70% of that are going to be single women. So we're talking about over 100 women he comes in contact with that are single, and he ain't chose none of them. You better ask yourself that question. Well, you better ask yourself the question, what is it about all these single parent women that he gets to see in parent-teacher conferences that he comes in contact with, but yet of all those women, he hasn't chosen one? What is it about those women he doesn't like? That's what you better ask yourself. That's what you better ask yourself. And maybe what he doesn't like is that maybe as single women have to carry both father and mother roles. So maybe they come with a lot of uh, masculine traits, and maybe he's not attracted to that. Maybe he's not attracted to that, because we know that happens when you're a single mom. You got to be the father and the mother a lot of times. And sometimes that makes you enter the world a different type of way. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on. Now we're moving on to Shannon. And she brings with her Mercedes. Y'all remember Mercedes? I remember Mercedes from the Miami season. On the Miami season, Mercedes was one of my favorites. I really liked Mercedes. And then she was also dating, I can't remember, she was dating several men, but she was also dating a fine ass Mark Anthony. Mark Anthony was fine. Mark Anthony was fine. And in the end, she said no to Mark Anthony. Mark Anthony did choose her. All the time, everybody kept saying Mark Anthony was a player from the Himalayas. In the end, Mark Anthony chose her. I remember some dynamics around them. Even though Mercedes was in Miami, she was a flight attendant. So she kind of bounced around from place to place. She was based in Miami, but for some reason, I think Mercedes also had a home base somewhere else where her family was. Then we had Mark Anthony. Even though he was living in Miami, his base was New York. I remember some circumstances around a girl in New York. Was he really done with the girl in New York? There's a whole lot of things. But in the end, Mercedes, just like the clip they showed, Mercedes turned down Mark Anthony because she felt that Mark Anthony wasn't sure-footed enough. He wasn't stable enough in his commitment to her. And because there wasn't enough of a commitment to make her feel comfortable, she said no. So one of the things I was really going to be interested in was, given how I know Mercedes makes decisions, right? The type of security she felt she didn't get from Mark Anthony, even when he chose her, I was going to wonder how she was going to show up for a girlfriend in that same sort of logic. And lo and behold, she basically told Shannon the same thing of the way she operates, that none of these men were giving her enough security for her to choose any one of them. So Mercedes came in. This is why I say you really got to be careful about your friends. Good intentions, good woman, but also making sure that the way that they date, that sure, you want to hear them out and listen to them, but you also want to make sure you're not taking on too much of their personalities in your own dating, in your own decision making. But I'll tell you this. You know, one of the things Mercedes really latched on to in the very beginning was quizzing all these men, Darius, Devon, and Steven, about how many connections they had. And Devin got a little tight tongue, little lump in the throat about, you know, spitting up the fact that he had multiple connections. Come to find out, Devin is saying he got 4 connections. We know Mercedes is not Mercedes. We know that Dominique is a connection. First of all, Dominique don't want Devin. And the fact that Devin is sitting here really believing that Dominique really wants him is ridiculous. That tells you a lot about Devin. And Shannon picked up on it. Shannon picked up on the fact that, wow, you still don't realize that Dominique don't want you. But later on, Devin got a little bit of truth serum from Dominique. He really did. But he's foolish. He's batting outside his league. And when I talked about the nerds, Devin is a nerd. He's a nerd. He never had no access to a woman like Dominique, but it's who he wants, right? Because he wants a little bit of excitement. And the reason why he doesn't want to really go all in with Shannon is because Shannon doesn't represent excitement. Now, I know y'all think it's just benign. It's not a big deal for Shannon to wear these pearls every single day. It's a problem, okay? Everybody has a brand, okay? And when you're out here in the dating marketplace, you are promoting your brand, okay? And Shannon is clearly telling us that her brand are pearls and nursing. That's Shannon's complete brand. Dilation wheels, falling down with a concussion, okay, being an RN, and pearls. Nothing about that breeds excitement, okay? Shannon is like a vegan meal. No carbs, no sugar. She's very healthy for you, right? Like if you're with Shannon, you probably gonna live a long, long life because you're not gonna eat no carbs, no sugar. You're gonna get a nice routine. You're gonna be consistent, right? It's gonna be prim. It's gonna be proper. It's gonna be poised. But what you could come away thinking with Shannon's brand is that there ain't gonna be no excitement. And who wants to sign up for that? Shannon is where you go to heal. I wonder if Shannon has been with a lot of men for short periods of time, like 6 months, whereby these men dated women who were exciting. Maybe the women were a bit toxic. And then what they do is when they're hurt and they're trying to recover and they say they're tired of toxic women or women with a whole lot of drama going on, they go date a Shannon. And Shannon becomes a safe space for them to heal, but it doesn't become excitement. And Shannon is promoting this. She's really promoting this brand that she's where you come for rest, relaxation, zen, right? But don't nobody want to live in a monastery their whole life. Nobody wants to have a no carb, no sugar diet for the rest of their life. They also want to live a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And Devin, whose life is probably already vanilla, his real life, he's looking for some excitement. And Shannon don't offer that to him. That's why he's not sold on her. Even though I really wish these two would get together, because I think in the end, they probably could be a good couple. The problem is Devin don't know who he really is, right? He really does pair better with a Shannon because that's who he really is. But he wants some excitement. But Shannon also needs to understand that she's got to be willing to offer a man some excitement. The same hairstyle, the same pearls, the same style of dress. She don't offer no variety. And no one is gonna want to stand up or sign up for that. It's like the same sex. It's the same dinner every single night. It's the same outfit every single night. The same this. It's boring. Shannon is giving boring, safe, vanilla, like I said. No excitement. She likes the Volvo of cars. Volvos are built good. They safe. They last a long time. But then like people being like, I can't have no fun in this Volvo though. I can't have no fun in this Volvo. It's nice. It looks good. It's safe. It's a good price point. It's got a good reputation, a good brand, but I can't have no fun in it. That's Shannon. And then the other part about Shannon that's going to be a turnoff to a lot of men is that she got Darius in the mix. Darius is a turnoff being at the table to any serious man. When a man sees you even considering Darius, he's going to be turned off by you. I can tell you right now that Steven is turned off by Shannon because she even had Darius in the mix, right? That's like, consider yourself a woman who is of a certain caliber, and then you see the guy sort of going after this whole other caliber of woman. And what you say is, you must not be for me if you really want that. You see what I'm saying? It makes you learn about the person through what they like. And what Steven is saying is, I know the brand you're presenting, Shannon, but the fact that you like Darius, the man with 4 kids and 3 to 4 baby mamas, and the man that wears furs around his neck while you wear cultural pearls. Nah, Steven was over there doing the math for her when Devin said he liked 4 out of the 6 women. And Steven said that's 66.6%. Get him, Steve. Get him, Steve. Steve, you might need to be over there with what's her name? Donna, because Donna's over there doing math calculations too, but she's also showing her titties. Girl, Donna, we gonna get to you, Donna. We gonna get to you with your titties hanging out. But they said that Darius said Shannon has climbed to his top 2. Steven said she is in his top 3, and Devin said that that Shannon is in the top 2. And even when they was drilling down on Darius, I hope y'all saw my last video with Darius and that ex-wife who talked about him like a dog. Darius is a con artist. He's a whole con artist, y'all. And it ain't nothing new. Darius is a pimp. I've been saying it from the very beginning. And then Darius over here said he got 4 kids by 4 different women. And the longest relationship is 11 years. Let's do that math problem. 4 kids, 4 different women, but you was with one of them women for 11 years. And he said the reason why he didn't marry any of these women, you don't have 4 kids with 4 different women and not one of them you married. That is a red flag. I'm going to tell women right away, run away from men who have not married a baby mama when they got 3 and 4 kids. 2 really, honestly, 2 is the limit. But I'm just saying 3 and 4, it should be a no. It should be absolutely no, because what that tells you is, I know although the men want to say, well, like Darius said, these women don't align with his values, then you mean to tell me you was willing to put your sperm, your seed, your last name into a woman who wasn't even good enough to be your wife? So she's good enough to raise your kids. So if you don't like her to be a wife, why would you trust her to raise your children? It doesn't even make sense. That's why a lot of men, he want to say like it's more about the women, that they weren't going in his direction, aligned with his values. No, something's wrong with your decision making and the way that you choose women. You must not choose women to birth and to mother your children based on will they make a good mother. You must be choosing women for different reasons. And like I said before, Darius is a pimp. Darius marries women or gets with women based on what they can do for him. He ain't even think about them kids that he done birthed and raised. You see what I'm saying? If he's even raising them. Stephen and Devon, they both said they ain't got no kids, but they want kids. And so that was more in line with what Shannon wanted. And then they start talking about timelines. And I really didn't have a problem with Shannon's timeline. In fact, when she said 3 months, you should kind of know whether or not you want to continue this relationship. You should be able to determine whether or not you want to be exclusive. Absolutely, within 3 months, you should be able to determine, do you want to be exclusive? Then she said in 6 months, you should determine whether or not this is worth carrying on. Got it. 3 months, within 3 months, you're exclusive. 6 months, you say, okay, great. We've been exclusive for another 3 months. Does this look good? Or have we noticed any really, really red flags? By 6 months, a lot of the facade should be dropping. You should have been able to see any type of green, yellow, or red flags. And you should be able to know, can you work through any of these yellow and red flags? You should know. And then after another 6 months of working on those yellow and red flags, within a year, I agree with her and Steven that you should be able to know. You should be able to know that, hey, you know what? I see this person. I know what their flaws are. I know what areas they need to work on, but I also know these good parts of them. And what I'm deciding to do is I'm deciding to work on those bad parts, those flags inside of a marriage or inside of an engagement. You should be able to move on to the next level. So I agree. The problem with Shannon's timeline, I'm going to tell you right now, nothing is wrong with her timeline. The problem is Shannon stays in the same spot during the entire timeline. A timeline is a progression, right? Each day I'm seeing more and more of you so that after a year, I would have seen a lot. The problem with Shannon is just like on this television show. We've seen her now for 8 episodes and I haven't learned a damn thing because I keep seeing the same old thing. So Shannon thinks it's easy. It's all you got to do is put in the time. All you got to do is show up like she's showing up on this show. She's not thinking about how do you use that time wisely. So as a result, just like she got here on episode 8, and no one is sure about her because you ain't showed them a damn thing. You see what I'm saying? You have not progressed, right? So it's almost as if Shannon's saying, I'm not going to show you anything, show you no looks, no different personalities. I'm not going to open up and tell you until I reach this timeline. Well, by the time the timeline comes, then everybody's answer is going to be a no, I'm not sure about you. So if Shannon's running around in relationships doing this, being with people for 3 months, 6 months, and then when she says, oh, why hasn't our relationship progressed? It ain't progressed because you ain't progressed. See, a lot of people be looking at other people as a problem. They the problem. Sometimes we the problem in our own relationships. We the one in these same relationships. How can other people always be the problem when we the common denominator? Where's Stephen and Donna? Do they need to teach y'all about common denominators? Because a lot of people don't see themselves. Shannon really believes she can just show up with some pearls on, right? Talk about dilation wheels and falling down on the job. And at the end, everybody's going to choose her because she's safe and she's not toxic. She says she's not waiting past a year. Good. Well, neither are the men. See, that's the problem. That's good you're not waiting past a year because neither are the men. Because within a year, more than likely, those men have healed from whatever toxic relationship they were in before. And now that you helped them heal because you offered them a nice space, nice, clean, sterile space, they can go off and live again with your no carbs, no sugar, no fats, good healthy fats. Now they can go live again and have themselves, some sweet potato pie. Like Dominique is serving up some oxtails. You hear what I'm saying? Some oxtails. So in the end, Mercedes told Shannon, I'm concerned because none of these men had you in their top. None of them. Right? And I don't know, Mercedes. I'm going to put a couple of things together. And that is Shannon invited 3 men on the date. Shannon shouldn't have invited Darius because that signals, are you serious? Inviting Darius means you can't be serious. The fact that you invited Darius at this table means you're not serious. I'm not getting serious with no one who's doing foolish shit like considering Darius to date. So Mercedes, I think you were a little bit off base with that. I think you put a standard on the men that you didn't even hold your friend accountable to. Okay. And then I think that the answers that Stephen gave, I thought that they were good answers that showed that he was in alignment with at least the thought process of Stephen. And instead of Mercedes telling Shannon to walk away from all these men, like she did for Mark Anthony, she should have given her friend some advice to say, hey, Darius shouldn't even be here. Devin is clearly conflicted, even though you've put in a lot of work with him. So the fact that he wasn't really claiming you in the top 2, even though you put in a lot of work. But she should have had some advice for Stephen because there was really nothing wrong with what Stephen said. And maybe she should have asked her friend, maybe you need to put a little bit more work into Stephen because at least he's still showing some promise. But what Mercedes did was get rid of them all because none of them has shown you enough security that you need. And I don't want to make Mercedes the topic of the conversation because, it kind of reminds me of Mercedes season. Mercedes was running around being a flight attendant. She didn't offer no stability, right? But then wanted stability from the man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't really look at what they're offering. A lot of men are intimidated by flight attendants because they go from city to city. They're always out of town. They're always gone. But yet they want a stable person. So here Mercedes telling Shannon, get rid of all these men. They not stable enough. They weren't sure enough for you. But Shannon over here inviting 3 men to the date. Girl, I didn't like it, y'all. I didn't like the way that went. And the fact that Shannon listened and said, yeah, I don't like it easy, told me a little bit more about her. Are these pearls a distraction, Shannon? Shannon, are you really stuck in your ways? Are these pearls a decoy to make us seem like you soft and you're willing to take the lead of a man and you are feminine, but deep down inside you are bossy and stuck in your ways? Because the way that you automatically decided to cut all these men loose, that was pretty decisive. Pretty decisive. That didn't leave a lot of room for you to be influenced. And, you know, when you're coming into your femininity, men want a woman who they can also influence, but hopefully in a good way. You don't want a man like Darius who's going to influence you in a negative way, but you want a woman who is open to influence, because you can't lead her if she's not open to influence. And the way that Miss Pearl wearing Shannon, I said, Shannon, this is interesting. This is very interesting. This hard-nosed stance you were taking 3 months, 6 months, a year. And I'm telling you, and I'm not waiting on no man. And yeah, I'm cutting them all loose. Said that's very different from these pearls you wear every day and the hair slicked to the side in the same hairstyle. Shannon, I'm wondering. See, this is what happened when you don't show people who you really are. Then we start wondering who you really are. So Shannon got a problem. Shannon got a brand problem. She got an image problem, right? And no one knows who she is, so no one's going to commit to her, okay? That's why she probably in these relationships, and at the end, nobody want to commit to her because they don't know who the hell she is. Who are you? I know you're trying to tell me who you are, but I don't know. I don't feel safe and secure with it. Now, the next date we got to see was Lauren. And Lauren brought a couple of friends, Bianca and Lola. Lolo, I don't know. My notes is bad. It'd be auto-correcting. And next thing you know, the A turned to the O. So her name is either Lola or Lolo. I don't know. But they got to meet Bello. Bello's at a date again. So is Steven. And so is Vince. And Bello comes in right away, start telling the story about how he always wanted a daughter and he wanted to name her Bianca, right? Just like Bianca's friend. And Lauren looked at him and she didn't like it. She didn't like that you was sitting here in front of me talking about how you was going to name your daughter after one of my friends. Lauren didn't like it. She didn't like it one bit. I saw it. And it also let Lauren know that Bello wants a kid, right? Like I said, the truth will come out. The truth will come out. He wants a child, okay? And then they start asking, the friends start asking, what do they like about Lauren besides her look? This is where the friends were trying to let Lauren know that based on my friendship with you, a lot of guys only like you, Lauren, for your looks. And so what you need to do is get with a guy who likes you more than besides your looks. Got it. They're trying to protect their friend. Hey, let's do something different. Let's make sure the guy really likes you and not likes you for your looks. But then the first thing the friends do is they start getting on Vince about how tall he is, something physical, superficial. So you don't want men to like your friend Lauren for superficial things like her looks. But then when you asked Vince how tall he is, and he said, I'm 6'2", and they said, really? How really taller you are? And you stuck on it and you grinded on it to the point where you aroused the angry bear in Vince. Not angry, but whatever. The argumentative part of Vince, because it don't take much to wake up the argumentative bear Vince, right? But I'm going to tell you this. He answered their question. They asked it very directly, how tall are you? He said 6'2", but that wasn't good enough for them. They stayed on it. And the more they stayed on it, the more they got to see that grizzly bear Vince. And then all of a sudden they didn't like it. Well, you came in saying you don't want to talk about superficial things. You want a man who don't like your friend for her looks. But with Vince, the first thing you went to was something superficial, his looks. And even when he answered your question, you didn't like his answer and you tried to say you're not really 6'2". That's what you was trying to say. So, hey, like I said, don't be asking for nothing that you're not willing to give. If you don't want men to like your friend just for her looks, then you need to stop vetting men for her based on trivial stuff like that. Vince was tall enough for her, tall enough. Okay? Now, they didn't like Bello either. They thought that he was superficial, a politician. He a salesperson. Like I said before, he's in sales. And that's what he comes to every single time. He comes to sell you something, snake oil, something. I would not trust Bello one bit. And he said that he had a 1-year-old. And then, what was it about? What was the story? The story was about, they said, you have a 1-year-old. That's really soon for you to be out here in these streets with a 1-year-old. That's relatively soon. And then Bello said, no, it's really more like 2 years. And they were like, look at this salesperson. Because the women were referring to 1 year out of the womb. And what Bello said was, no, let's reframe the truth and say it's 2 years because really it's at the time of conception. And so what he was saying was, I've seen Lauren more than I've even seen the mother of my child, because technically I didn't even see the child the whole year or 9 months she was in the womb. And then after she was born was when I had to go to Miami and get the DNA test. And I probably haven't seen her much after that because basically all I do is send her a check. That's all I do. Vince said that he would be cool not having any more children. And Lauren doesn't really want any more children. You know, she may say she'll have them if she gets with a guy who wants them. But her boys are old and grown, just like Vince's kids are old and grown. And, you know, when they're over here vetting Steven, and Steven said he was feeling a bit anxious because I think Steven really likes Lauren. I really do believe he likes Lauren. And Steven said that he teaches history. He's 7th grade, 8th grade. And when I said before, Steven has come in contact with a lot of single women. He teaches 8th grade and 7th grade. And why hasn't he chosen any of these women? Because I think Steven has a type. I think physically, Lauren, in terms of physical looks, that she's his type. Steven is a good-looking man, and I think he likes a very good-looking woman. So that's going to knock out a lot of women because on the scale of 1 to 10, Lauren is in the upper ranges of good-looking women. So he's not going to be attracted to most women because he's going to want a certain look aesthetic. I think Lauren has that. The other part about Lauren that I believe Steven is thinking about is her boys are older. They're grown. They're not those middle school young boys whereby those difficult years sometimes with boys who are entering their teen years. Steven teaches these boys every single day. He knows the type of work that it comes with raising boys in middle school, and he may not want any part of that. But Steven said, I want her to give me a girl. Did you hear Steven? He didn't just say a baby. He said a girl. Steven wants a girl. And what Steven said before about Lauren, what he liked was he liked that Lauren talked to him softly and kindly. And what Steven wants, he wants a girl. And he wants a female who will raise that girl with the same qualities he desires in a woman. You get what I'm saying? This is why at first I was saying that Steven and Ashante, because both of them don't need to be married tomorrow. The problem with Ashante is she gives off so much masculine energy that it probably makes Steven not fully attracted to her. You see, if Ashante would lighten up and calm down, Stephen probably would develop more attraction to her, much more. But right now, Stephen is stuck on Lauren. One is because I think aesthetically she does look like, and he's met a lot of women with kids, so he may be okay dating a woman with kids, but maybe older. And he said he's just a regular guy, with his nieces and his nephews. And Lauren was very drawn to Vince, which is interesting. Stephen wasn't even her number one. Once again, why wasn't Lauren drawn to Stephen? Right? She was drawn to Vince, but she was disappointed in the rah-rah energy that Vince gave. And then the friend said, Stephen is not assertive enough. So there we go. Once again, I'm going to say, when I hear this, is that more a statement about Lauren or is that a statement about Stephen? I think it's a statement about Lauren, right? I think it's a statement about, just like Lauren said early in that season, that her boys were tall. She got tall men in the family of her boys are tall, which means maybe the father of those children also was tall. And this idea that she needs a strong physical presence in the household to handle not only her, but these boys in the house. And would Stephen get eaten alive in her household with her and her two tall boys? So is it really a statement about Stephen or is it more a statement about Lauren? And I think it's a statement about Lauren. And so in one way, Lauren is looking for this strong masculine figure. But then when you get Vince, she goes, oh, it's too much. It's too much. Women really got to check what it is they want and what it is they're delivering. Because a lot of these things that women are asking for is in conflict with who they are, right? Vince is going to need a woman who does not engage in arguments because he likes to argue. And the only way to get along with a person who doesn't like to argue is you got to be a person that doesn't. You can't be a person that adds fuel to the fire. When Vince throws gasoline on the floor, you can't be a woman that lights the match. You see, and based on what the friend said, that Steve is not assertive enough for Lauren, tells me that Lauren might light matches. She might like to light matches. And they just felt that Bella was too much of a slick talker. But she said that, I don't know. I can't remember if she said she liked Vince the most, because my notes are now saying that she liked Bello the most, that Bello was her strongest connection. I think that's what she said. That was weird to me because I was like, how is Bello your strongest connection, Lauren? And as I thought about it, Lauren tells us that she does a lot of entertainment. She's in the entertainment world. And even though her friends wanted a guy that wasn't superficial and only liked Lauren for her looks, part of me says that Lauren is drawn to that. She wants a man that is 6'2" or higher or taller. And she wants the dress style of Bello. He's always dapper. He always smells good. You see, that's Lauren's type. And Stephen is given Mr. Rogers, the school teacher with the sweater vest on, right? Who's wants to sit at home and be with family and raise kids. And although Lauren says she's out all the time, she really does want to come home and raise kids. It's what she's saying and how she's choosing men, it doesn't add up. Bello's in the streets. How can you say you want to be at home with kids and raise? Bello's in the streets. So I know a lot of women think that you're men too, that people can't see through these contradictions and that they are hiding it from the world. They're not. People see it. They may not tell you to their face, but they see it. And when they see it, they just go the different direction. People not fooling people out here. We also got to see Ashley with her friend Brianna, and then she got to meet Darius and Cardi. And They said it was this should have been about people getting to know Cardi, but Ashley did a whole lot of talking. Did y'all notice that Ashley talked more than her friends did? She kind of took over the conversation. You see what I'm saying? And she said she liked Cardi because she felt Cardi was smart, but they tend to have surface conversations. That's because Cardi don't know who he is. He shows up differently to every conversation, surfacey, because he doesn't know who he is. And her question is whether or not Cardi can be in a deep relationship. Ashley liked to talk. That's why she didn't like, what was his name, Chris, because she felt Chris talked too much about himself. But Ashley likes to talk a lot. And I don't know why she's still chasing after Darius, because Darius wants a woman that he can mold. She's picking up on it. And Ashley is another person out here whereby she's picking the wrong type of people. Ashley is trying to pick guys like Darius because she thinks Darius is a leader and he's strong, he's all this. But the truth of the matter is, I think Ashley is probably a strong force in relationships. And then she picks these toxic men that dominate her even more. But Cardi don't even call or text her. Nobody's really interested in Ashley because she's interested in Darius. I keep telling y'all that when men see who you're interested in, they can become less interested. And if you like a Darius and a man knows he's nothing like a Darius, he ain't interested in you. He actually talking about she got to be in Cardi's face to get to know him. See, all that. Yeah, I got to be in your face to get to know you. And then when she talked to Darius, all Darius talking about, oh, she's beautiful. And they said, well, is there anything you need to fix with her? He said, oh, no, ain't nothing I need to fix with her at all. She's perfect. And then Ashley jumped into my, well, what do you expect out of me? He says, well, I want to make sure we have the same end goal and we all in the same alignment, and also that we can make the same pivots. This sounds like the same answer he was given when he was on that date with Shannon, talking about why he didn't marry none of them other baby mamas. He got the same old lines. That's what a pimp does. A pimp really just got the same old lines, and he just used the same old lines on every woman. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. And then what Ashley said is, but she want to see the vulnerable side, the nurturing side, the catering side of Darius. Ashley needs to go get some therapy because there's a lot of contradictory personality parts of Ashley. In one way, she comes off very fragile, like I said before, and she's saying she needs someone to be nurturing and vulnerable, but yet she chooses a man like a Darius who's really out there. Even she talks about Cardi, he's not really emotionally available. But then a man who was very emotionally available, which is Chris, she was turned off by him. This is what happens when past trauma is making decisions for you in your adult life. You have the child in you from the past trauma who's telling you to pick a certain kind of guy so that your child trauma can feel safe. But then the adult you doesn't even really get along with that type of person. That's why you got to figure out your past trauma so you can silence that voice. Otherwise, you're going to keep making the wrong decisions over and over again. But then we went on to Donna's date. Donna brought a friend out. Donna's friend was Angel, and Donna's titties were out. When she turned around to hug Vince, Vince was like, oh my gosh. Donna, the mathematician, the STEM major, couldn't figure out how to keep them titties in that blouse. This is not the first time Donna's done this. Donna is saying, I need to get these men's minds off my PhD and onto my breastises. You see, she's trying to do the opposite of Shannon. Shannon is, let me keep up the facade of the demure woman. I don't want to call it a facade, but let me keep up the brand of the demure woman, the poise, the pearls. And Donna is saying, I need men to see me more than just a brain. I need them to see my sex appeal. I get it, Donna. I see what you're trying to do, but you might have gone a little bit too far with it. A little bit too far. But Vince said he likes how smart Donna is because Donna offers a challenge in these arguments he likes to have. He wants to be up on the debate stage, and a lot of these women can't hang with Vince. Vince says they can't hang with me. So I wanted to jump up to the big leagues with a big mind like Donna, and I want to tussle with her. But then Vince be having these stupid ass answers. Vince says, I'm not dating for marriage, I'm dating for friendship. Don't no one want to hear that. No one wants to hear that. I'm not dating for marriage, I'm not dating for friendship. Once again, wait a minute, I think Vince was married though, right? Somebody please let me know. I know he has 2 children, 2 different women. But did he marry one of them women? If he didn't marry neither one of them, that's going to be a big old problem. But something tells me he married one of them and he's divorced. Can't remember. But his answer was a poor answer, that I'm not marrying for marriage. I'm marrying to dating. And really his answer should be, I'm marrying to date a woman that could turn into marriage. Because when you tell me you're not dating for marriage, you're dating to date or to be a friend with someone, those are different characteristics. You know what I'm saying? And he said he doesn't have to have any kids, but he'll have them. So what Vince is giving me is, I don't really want any more kids because I don't really want to have to pay for any more kids financially. Remember, he already got 2 kids. Vince has already talked about the money situation. He don't want to pay for no more kids. So if he does have any more kids, it's going to have to be with a woman that makes a lot of money. So that way that woman can also overwhelmingly contribute to raising those kids. But he's good not having any more. And Donna's 38. And what he's probably banking on is, I could date a girl like Donna and I could string out this dating process to the point where all her eggs dry up. And then I'll get what I want. I'll get a smart woman who I can argue with, who's got money, and we never have to have any more kids. So let me draw it out. Donna, you better think. You better think, Donna. You better think long and hard. And Vince said he ain't changing his timeline. I'm not changing my dating timeline to accommodate no one. Not at all. And Steven felt like he didn't even want to be on the date with Vince. Like I said, Steven was turned off by the fact that he was even on a date with Vince. Steven says, if you have me on a date with certain men, I'm going to be turned off. I don't even want to be there with you. I don't want to be there with you. But Steven says he does want kids, and he wants at least one child, and he wants the child within he wants to be married in 2 years. He should be married with dating. I thought Steven's answers were wonderful. And he said, Donna is love. Donna is love. Donna fits, I believe Donna fits Steve's aesthetics for beauty. I do. Donna represents a woman that are not like those women coming to his school with middle school children. That's a thing there too. Steven, it doesn't seem to be argumentative. And he probably will let Donna have the floor for the most degree, because Donna gonna need to be right with her statistical analysis. So I don't believe Steven is having a whole lot of toxic masculinity that would butt head with Vince. But I think Donna still likes Vince. That's the thing. Sometimes we are attracted to the wrong thing. It's like a drug addiction. Sometimes women are attracted to men, but it's really not the best man from them. I really can't believe more women are not really giving Steve more of a consideration, but they are more putting toxic men like Darius and Vince in their top ones. This is just absolutely crazy. And, Donna's friend said, Vince is a no. And basically saying, so should I pivot to Steven? Yes, you should pivot. Yes, you should pivot. But we'll see if she'll listen to her. We'll see if her math calculations instruct her to pivot more to Steven versus trying to hang on to Vince, because that's not going to go nowhere. That's going to blow up in her face. And then we got to see The last day we got to see was Dominique with her friends Sharonda and Lena. And I'm going to tell you, that one friend was a Sharonda. I can't remember which one it was with the short hairstyle that got up and did the twirl with her outfit. Don't take her out with you. You can be a friend when you're trying to get a man because she's going to shoo men away. Because people are going to see her energy and they're going to be like, well, if you best friends with her, you must have some of this energy. And I don't want none of this energy. You see, that's what I'm talking about, Dominique. And Cardi came with the roses. Cardi gave every woman a rose at same time. I don't know. He must have got like a bulk price because he had one for everyone. And he said that the one thing he liked about Dominique was her poise and style. And Dominique is not going to be with no Cardi, and she's not going to be with no Devon. The only person Dominique could possibly be with is Bello. Because neither Cardi nor Devon could even match her fly. And when they went to ask Devon a question, he fumbled the ball even more. And if you remember in the first episode, Dominique was going to go home. So was Devon. What gave them a lifeline to still be here was Dominique said, oh, I guess I better step up my game because none of these men even liked me from the beginning and they were voting me off. And Devon said the same thing, none of these women. So they both of them had to step up their game and play the game better. Otherwise, they weren't going to be here. And Devon, I believe, lives in a delusional world that he really does believe that Dominique liked him. And I don't think Dominique ever liked Devon. Devon was just a vote. Okay. And one of the reasons why Dominique was so upset, because she was upset the way Devon was not choosing her, because here's Dominique saying, you just a bench warmer. You're not even first string on my roster. And you mean to tell me I brought you here to this date with my girlfriends, and here in front of my girlfriends, you, the bench warmer, didn't even put me in your top 2? You sitting over here fumbling around. Dominique's ego was offended by the fact that the bench warmer Devon, who she's only using for a vote, didn't even put her in her top 2. And the ego of Devon, who believes he really is a consideration, tried to act like he's so cool, he don't want to act like he's too thirsty for Dominique. But we know he's thirsty. He's real thirsty because when Bello walks into the room, all of Devon's self-confidence drains out of him. You see it. He's intimidated by Bello. You see, he's trying to act cool, trying to act like Dominique ain't his number one. He's intimidated by Bello from the very beginning when she cooked Bello them oxtails. And then, when he came off is Rocky, not really committed to Dominique. And that's enough for Dominique to say, if you can't make me your number one and you a bench warmer, then I don't need to have nothing to do with you. Devon is out. Now Devon's going to find himself out with Dominique. Then what's he going to do? Run over there to Shannon? What's going to happen next week now that Devon is going to be cut loose by Dominique? Because Dominique going to definitely cut him loose. And she going to go all in with Bello. And then she going to be in a fight with Bello because remember, Lauren says she wants Bello. And somebody else didn't want Bello too. Did Ashante want Bello? I don't know. And but he going to get cut loose because Dominique's ego is not going to allow her to keep him around. Not after what he did in front of her friends. And then especially when her friend said she Dominique's soulmate. Girl, that ain't good. That ain't good. And Bello let it be known, he said there's attraction and there's chemistry. And although he may be attracted to other women, the chemistry he has with Dominique, that's the spark he wants. Because Dominique offers excitement. Bello is looking to expand his business portfolio. That's why he probably over there still even consider Lauren, because obviously Lauren work in the nightlife too. She could have a Rolodex customers that Bello could like. I don't really trust Bello, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I really don't. And as smart as Dominique is, something tells me Dominique knows this about Bello too. But Dominique just don't want to lose. Dominique don't want to be the girl that gets rejected by these men. Dominique is the mother of a child from an NBA player. The last thing Dominique wants for her reputation is I went on Ready Love and got dumped by some commoners, because that's what these men are representing, commoners. So Dominique is in it to win. I don't even know if she deep down even likes Bello, because there's a lot of parts about Bello wanting the kid, Muslim. Dominique ain't doing that. She ain't giving up pork. Dominique ain't giving up pork. I'll tell you that right now. But Devin's mask slipped, you know, and he told Devon, I don't even know why he was all riled up, because Cardi said, I knew right away these women wasn't coming to play, because they came with their arms out their jackets. What the hell, Cardi? He said their hands and arms was outside their jackets. That's when I knew that these women were coming to play. And Dominique said, if you can't love me out loud, you can't love me at all. And that was the end. Nobody got eliminated. No one got eliminated. So it's going to be interesting to see the fallout on all these dates next week, to hear what the ladies say to Tommy in the women's lounge. But we'll have to see. But that's all I got, y'all. I'll talk to you later. Bye.